they were pretty much trying out this really adorable girl. Like, I think before Lauren Frost, this girl could have been a really great asset to our cast. I don't know what happened. I remember her being extremely young. She was younger than me. She was like 14, but looked older. And she had a really strict mom. Okay. And then I don't know what happened after this, but I remember her mom was extremely strict. And I think she might have been like managed by Tina Treadwell or something like that. Like, I don't remember. But I really liked this actress. And
this is one of those few episodes where you actually see something happening like at night. You didn't see a lot. We didn't shoot a lot of night scenes,
Right. Yeah.
And if we did, they were mostly at the house, but they definitely were not at the school. So this one's interesting because you're actually seeing the school at night.
And Coach Tugnut's
this makes me think
fries.
of like the reason why I got kicked out of high school. This is
You broke into school?
I broke into school at like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Whoa!
Yeah,
this is some tea.
Or
high school.
High school.
I was
Why?
actually in so I went to the school I went to, Don Bosco Tech, out in Rosemead, California, was an all boys prep school, college prep school. So what was great about the school is that 2 things. One, you learned a technology. So there's these different trades that you got to select from. And mine was construction and architectural design. So that was
your dad.
Yeah. But then they had like metallurgy and automotive and electronics. And like, so the whole time you went to school there, you were learning a trade. And you did 4 years of high school in 3 years. And then you had 2 additional years you could elect to do that were college.
Wow.
And so by the time you graduated in 5 years, you had an Associates of Science.
So that sounds like it had a nice campus.
It was decent. Yeah,
Okay.
it wasn't. It was a small school. It was
Your
in
dad
Rosemead.
basically sent you to the Marines for
No,
architects.
I completely had that was my choice to go to that school. It was one of the things that we talked about earlier that I'm so glad I made that choice. But anyway, I was in my 4th year. This was the first year of my college program. And I was just, crazy and liked to do crazy shit. And had a whole heist, just like in this episode. And broke into school. Keep in mind, it's a
What were you trying to steal?
It's a Salesian school, so that, there's literally priests or Salesian priests sleeping on campus in the dorm or wherever they stay. So there was a student activities office where all of the money from the sports athletic fundraising was stored. And another room, which was the student activities office. Shout out to Mr. Benitez, who would let us all hang out in that room and play pool during lunch. And we used to have these big dances we would do every year. And the ticket sales were pretty substantial, and all the money that was in his office. And it's not one of my prouder moments, but I don't regret it. I regret anytime you hurt somebody, I regret that. But it was one of those moments that had to happen in order for me to learn an important lesson in life.
You didn't get away with it.
I did get away with it.
Well, not anymore.
I definitely am no. So I did get away with it, except for a buddy of mine who did it with me, who I enrolled into this heist with me, got busted a month later for something. And they suspected that he might be involved. And so they basically tried to say, we know it was you. And he cracked under pressure and ratted me out.
Oh.
But it was honestly one of at the time, what was interesting was I had a teacher named Tom Arms, who was my construction lab teacher.
No, stop it. Your construction teacher was named Tom Arms?
Tom Arms. And he was this big, he was this big burly Irish guy. And he was an alcoholic for 27 years and sober for 17. So as you know, anyone who's gone through recovery or AA, they're very honest about their past, because that's part of how you deal with your addiction is you're very honest. Anyway, we pull off this whole heist and get away with it. It was an insane situation, being on just the feeling of being on campus at 3 a.m, running through the gymnasium, which is already a crazy sound, but hearing your wet sneakers through an empty gymnasium in the middle of the night is freaking crazy.
I'm just hearing Will Ferrell, in old school, going, "We're going streaking through the gymnasium to the quad.
No,
Let's go."
I definitely kept my clothes on.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, a month later, the guy that I did it with got busted, ratted me out.
How did he get busted a month later, though?
So what happened is, when we were pulling this off, he made the unwise decision to steal the ID maker that they would make our student
that's
IDs
a federal
with.
offense,
Yeah,
dude.
dude. Uh-oh.
Well, okay.
Oh, for school IDs, okay.
No, first of all, the whole thing was definitely a felony.
Okay.
But this is,
Lenient?
A slap on the wrist.
yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
they really could have handed it to me if they wanted to, but
Mhm.
I was liked. And unfortunately, I kind of let a lot of people down when I did this, not to mention my parents. But anyway, yeah, they were very lenient on me when it all kind of came to light. But anyway, so I was in this construction class, and Tom Arms is leading the class, and he would always start off every class with some kind of like story about his years as as an alcoholic, or while he was still using. And it would always end with like some kind of like integrity, moral thing,
Sure,
right?
of course.
And his line was always, a man without, guys, remember, a man without integrity is a man with nothing. That was how he'd end every one of his stories. And so here I am in his class when the dean comes in, calls him out of the classroom, and then they call me out of the classroom. And I walk out there in the hallway, and it's the dean, the the principal, Tom Arms, and this other guy, Charles. And I'm like, oh, shit. And Charles is like, they know, Nick, they know. And I'm like, they know what, Charlie? What do they know? And Tom Arms is like, Nick, I think it's time to tell the truth.
Shut up. This
I'm
did not
like,
happen.
Fuck.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And
I think Mr. Romano needs to tell Charlie what happens to rats.
Tommy Arms was really the right guy for this.
Yeah, no, it was. And
Tony Romano would have been part of this. He
no,
would-
it was. That was.
my dad
that was.
wanted a VIG.
That was the end of it. I got kicked out of school. My mentor, like one of my teachers, became my mentor and friend from that point forward, because he was really concerned about me going down the wrong path, and kind of took a vested interest in my future. And the rest is history. And like, I just, it was one of those like awakening moments where I'm like, yeah, that's not the person I want to be in life anymore. But this,
So you were kind of a punk.
oh yeah, I just, when you're young, you're testing your limits.
Yeah.
Now who's dangerous?
You're testing
You
your
kind
limits.
of remind me of what I would hope my nephew could become, because he's kind of in that place in his life too.
I had a nephew that was in that place too, and unfortunately, it cost him his life. Yeah, so it's like, I was very fortunate to be around people that actually cared about me. And, there's a lot of people that may have come from different circumstances in different places, in different cities, that had they gotten busted for breaking into school and stealing a bunch of money, would have been sent right to jail.
And would have had all those guys around telling him like this.
Yeah.
I mean, that must have been very embarrassing for you, very humbling.
Oh,
it was a turning point for you.
For sure, because my idea of myself at that time was that I'm not a bad guy. I just like to do crazy shit. But I realized,
like, I'm not hurting anybody.
Yeah, exactly. But I realized after that, you can't be a good person
and do bad things.
Yes,
correct.
that's just that's not how integrity works.
Fair.
If you're doing bad things and you're hurting people, you're not really a good person. Doesn't mean that you don't have a good heart. You're just not practicing it right.
This is so true, man.
Yeah. So, but watching this episode, I'm like,
you got triggered.
I've been there, man.
We call that
I've
being
been there.
triggered.
Triggered.
So this episode, After Hours, I just Googled the beautiful, talented girl that was sort of, I don't know. I think she probably didn't want to land on our show as a regular on a Disney show.
Yeah.
I think her team was like, nope, you're going to do your own thing.
You're
And
gonna,
she
you're
ended
gonna be
up,
bigger.
her name is Jennifer Freeman. Jennifer Freeman ended up on My Wife and Kids as the daughter on that show.
Oh, yeah.
wow.
And it ran for a long time. And I think that
Wow,
was
good
maybe
for her.
a couple years after, but I can understand why her team was like, we're not just going to have you settle here as the best friend
Yeah.
on a show that's already been a season in.
Yeah.
We're gonna
find something bigger for you.
Yeah, so then
she was-
Ren
and she
was friendless again.
Yeah.
Friendless Ren. Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Even More Stevens podcast. For full episodes, check us out on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts. Do you want more of us in your life? Well, then join our Patreon today. Link is in the description.